survive like this.
Yeah, no, that's everything's good to go. It's nothing scandalous.
Are we up and running? Okay, cool. No porn on the screen.
No.
Y'all, see, if this was my computer, there would be pictures of adhesive bras and weaving looms all over the place.
Get in front of the scandal,
Stop
Dad. You direct
there.
the scandal. You get in front of it in case that ever happens. I admit.
So, welcome live audience and future audience. This is the Sucks to Be Quarantined host test. We are warming up, giving y'all a little teaser about tomorrow's show. Also, just like hanging out with each other and talking about what's going on in the world, which has managed to keep spinning. So that's a thing. Yeah. I don't know if I've already said it. I'm Kat Mosley. My name isn't up on the thing. And you can see we're here with Manny and SB and David Feinberg from the Sucks to Be Quarantined crew. And from our host panel, we are here with Brandon T. Gorin and Cecily, Professor Alexandria. So welcome, y'all. Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
We back.
If I like that, if the ultimate compliment that you can give about a week is the world continues to turn, it's been a bucks week.
We're still here,
right? I was just talking about how Boris Johnson, like if the head of the UK at any other time in history almost died of COVID-19, it would be huge news. But like things were so fucked up for the past while that like. It didn't even. I was like, I don't even have time to do this shit right now. It's so fucking whack.
I knew he had it. I didn't know he almost died.
I don't know if he almost died, but like it's a life-threatening disease, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
and he doesn't look that healthy. I don't know.
Right?
So.
Yo, I nodded because I was taught active listening, but who almost died? I was like, oh no, this is important. They talking death. What?
This is early though. This was early on.
If this was like in May,
in March,
April,
or April?
Was it March?
April.
Something like that.
Early in the cycle though.
Really early. Yeah.
And who's
Boris
that?
Johnson. Boris Johnson.
That dude.
Prime Minister of UK.
The Prime Minister of the UK.
Yeah, my brain just won't process it. I think you said it 3 or 4 times after I asked.
He looks
and my
like,
brain is like, no.
Like Trump's little brother.
Yeah, he looks like a shitty version of Trump, if you can believe it.
He looks like he would pass out if he stood up too fast or some shit.
Yeah.
He has like very thin skin, like literally thin.
Yeah.
Oh,
The thing about when Kat said when and the world is still spinning, like we let that go for a second, but I was actually impressed by the world. Like when you said that, I was like,
wow, good job, world.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Spinning and shit.
World.
Seasons changing and all that shit.
Yeah.
All in the summertime and shit in certain hemispheres and shit.
Spinning and shit. Spinning like some 22s on Charles Freewell.
Spinning.
They spinning.
Yeah, I had a moment where I was like, yeah, those murder hornets really didn't add up to much. That's good. That's all right.
Right?
No,
I mean, we've had a lot of plays.
Almost.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there was like a meme, like what happened to the murder hornets, and then someone's responding, that was just a filler episode. That's all that was.
I was a
that
little
was like
scared
maybe
of
introducing a new character.
Like, they're like, this isn't going anywhere. Let's drop this plot. This is ridiculous.
It was like when Lion King came out with their first version.
Yeah. Like, nah, this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, it works. And maybe this might be a downer, but just like on talking about immigration, it's interesting to me how it actually is challenging. It's not as simple as going to Roku and punching in immigration and finding content. And on many other issues, I can just go to the internet or go to a streaming app and punch in a keyword and they find things. Very difficult. I found Cheech talking for like 90 seconds about how this is like
God.
something that happened in history, like with that sort of, I found like very few things on a straight up immigration search in the streaming apps, which to me is a problem. The search engines should be smart, but it just seems to me that the search engines aren't trained to care about the word immigration the way that in June they were trained to care about the word race. I'm sorry. Yes, May and June trained to you tell the Manny, you know this from the soft, like you have to tell it this word.
Is anyone else looking it up right now?
Boom.
Like that's the
boom. Evidently, only the attorneys and activists and interested parties. So there's one retired judge. So at Berks here in Pennsylvania, Che just said the name Berks to me this week. So I didn't even know that we had a contested place here in Pennsylvania. Fortunately, no positive COVID results yet, but not perfect compliance with guidelines. And also, it's a pandemic. Get them out of there. Like, get them out of there. Get them out. Okay. What just crossed my mind, a few things. I'm just thinking about people that I've heard in the news have been released from jail, and the relative harm done by these people in the detention centers is like non-existent, but it's really, really difficult simply to release them. They were supposed to be released on Friday, but the government succeeded in getting a 10-day extension. So I can go back to that, the little bit I learned about the terms of release, but there's a judge there speaking at the protest. He's a retired judge. He's not even working on the case, but it's important to him because these cases remind him of when children were being sent to juvenile detention centers for profit. And so what we're finding is that there's a similar profit interest in the immigration detention centers as well. What we're finding, what I read today is that there's also a profit. I just thought it was a moral problem, and profit interests of course are that, but I just thought this is horrible. Like when we found out that children and families were being separated and the government was lying about, that was so clear to all of us. So why is it not part of the conversation now? I will go ahead and throw out my guess for myself, which is that this reminds me of how I heard people talk about why there was no action during the Holocaust early on. The news is big, the news is there, it exists in the world, but we just can't. We just can't. We just don't. We just, and it's so similar. So I'll let you speak here, there, but I wasn't trying to do that to you. I was just thinking
that this is Jewish benefits in life, you know. But let me try.
I will spotlight you to speak.
This is like when they. This is like in my all-white school when they brought up slavery and everybody.
Manny, come stand in front of the class and about your slave parents, Manny.
Wait, Manny, how old were you? Not to get off of the other thing, because I definitely want to go into that. But Manny, how old were you when they were asking you to do that? That's so fucked up.
What, talk about? I think we started talking about slavery in like 4th grade.
I was gonna say 9, probably like 9.
Yeah, 9.
Yeah,
9.
Could you imagine being 9 years old and you're like, they're like, why don't you explain this
like
greatest human atrocity that's ever occurred? That would be cool. By the way, how has it been learning how to ride a 2-wheel?
Right. Yeah. It was. It was wild.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thing. Legitimately, I think that the weird like connotation between them is also like that there's like economic like horror going on, and that I think equates in a lot of people's minds to like them hunkering down with their own problems, and then mass human atrocity can be like done on a scale that's so incredible. I mean, the shit with Portland is the thing that I'm thinking about right now so much, is like all the shit with like unmarked cars and like cops covering badges and shit. And the fact that there's been no like statements or anything like that. I was just talking about it with something like I can't think of a worse way to prove that the police would be helpful than everything that's been done across the board.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that is spookiest to me, is that it's like, if you wanted to prove something about it, wouldn't you like, oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to it, but I do know that it's like, you ever seen like when someone like is going to, I don't know, it's like putting banana peels on a flight of steps or something. Someone help me here, because I am having trouble explaining the stupidity of how far flung this is. Even in the historical context, you would think that the police would like know about their own history. But that's the thing I think that scares me the most, is that like, it's the Nazi shit as well as these like fraternal elements that come together, and it washes away any sort of a thing. Like if you're in any sort of a group, I would, if anyone is watching this right now, you need to like have those moments of pulling yourself away from the group and being like, would this be something that I would do by myself? Like one thing was like, I just saw a police officer in uniform punch an 18-year-old girl in the fucking face the other, like today on video. Just, she's a youth organizer, and he slams her right in the face. And it's obviously based on, and shout out to whoever put this on Instagram. Somebody, one of my friends on Instagram wrote like a whole thing about it, but it was like, my fear is that it was absolved by the groupthink. And I think that's the fascist element. And I'm really glad that right now a lot of people are bringing up tenets of the, you know, fascism. And there's this post that's been going around that I hope everyone will read up on, of like read the tenets of fascism, and like the way that if you are of any group except for white Anglo-Saxon males that are straight, you are going to be fucked by this system. It eats everything. And why that, the thing that like boggles my mind the most is like when it's like women for Trump or like gays for Trump. And it's like, this system is going to fucking cut and bleed you. They're using you as like a scapegoat and a point person. And the thing about it is that at the end of it, they drop you. All right, that's been my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This was very
Here, I'll take your spotlight off. What I've been doing is looking up the tenets of fascism, but I need reading glasses, so it takes.
Yeah, that was so insightful. But at one point, I was like, "Does David have an earring?"
I do. Yeah,
I did. I was like, I never knew that. That's like, it's tiny. It's not. But
I have not noticed that.
Looks good. Yeah, I've never noticed that.
Did you just get it?
Yeah, during quarantine, Laura came over to my house, and on a Zoom call with some friends, we had like a piercing gun, and I used to have my ear pierced, but I was like, you know,
wait,
when you get
are you serious right now?
Did it close or something?
I thought this was a bit about.
No, I'm dead serious. I was like,
no, I understand that you have. No, I understand that you have a pierced ear. I thought that you were like playing the bit of having your own piercing gun and doing this during quarantine.
I have, you can buy like it's like a little plastic thing. It's like a piercing gun. It's just like a little disposable plastic piece. And I guess it is a single-use plastic, but it is, I mean, it's basically like a piercing gun. It comes in like a sanitized thing. You can order them online. It's been a really...
David just bared his soul.
Cecily will be making sure David's ear doesn't turn green or
talking
fall
about
off.
It's been weak, guys.
I'm concerned.
And Manny was like, yeah, but what about...
Let's talk about that earring.
I'm saying, you making extra money on the side or what?
Yeah, like, what's
paychecks coming in or what? Huh?
And this is why we can't get anywhere in
I'm so sorry, y'all. That was a deep, insightful thing that David just said, but I was curious. Sorry.
Did you say Brit? Is it Brit? Lawrence Brit?
I don't know if it was attributed to anyone, but these look...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely correct.
These are it.
You can also, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm obsessed with these. I know that sounds weird, but like I've been
No, I
watching
get
this
it.
for a long time.
It's important to know the signs. It's like knowing the signs of a fucking stroke so that you understand in any sort of rhetoric that you're presenting. And like, look at these things like supremacy of military, rampant sexism, controlling of mass media, like the delegitimizing of media.
Let's go on about that because control of mass media has also happened. I just ran the Hassan Minaj episode again about the destruction of media, and each of these things is a sub movement of a fascist movement. So there's like a corporate movement to buy out and help bankrupt news outlets. And did I tell y'all this recently? I was looking for reviews on an air conditioner, a portable air conditioner. And everywhere I looked up reviews of this portable air conditioner, it was the same text. But sometimes that text appeared in USA Today. Sometimes it appeared in like city newspapers online. And it's because these people are able just to buy space. And the byline they'll put on it is by staff on behalf of sponsor or something like this, but it's still titled a review. So it's seriously, it's corrupt. I mean, even for something like commerce, that's super corrupt. And we can't get news on actual stories. And of course, Epstein, a lot of these child abuse stories have been broken by the media and then prosecuted by law enforcement. So, okay, that's just huge to me today. Go ahead, Feinberg. Teach us about fascism.
I legitimately, the same thing. I am not an expert on fascism, but I do really, I encourage people, if I could make a book suggestion to everybody, Trump and Me is a really good book. I think it's by Mark Singer. And it's really, it gets into like rhetorics in his mind. And then also, I don't know if anybody's gotten the new book by his
niece.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in it. I'm
gonna get it.
What's it called?
And it's
something like too never enough and too much and never enough, something like this.
Close. Also, if you type Trump niece, you'll find it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And
she's a great interview subject. She's great, and her body gives all the signs of honesty that I'm aware of. So it's just really interesting.
That you clock that, Kat. I love it. Like you're like, I don't trust her for a minute until I get to see her. Like I remember. Do you remember? I bet if anybody who's watching this looks at old videos, like you can watch Kat watch each of us as we're talking, and
you
like,
can see.
All right, control your face. Don't move your jaw too much. What is this sign?
Now I'm like, nigga, you lying. I can tell.
I have very expressive eyebrows, like a terrier. I don't know what to do. There's like, not only that, I also think that like, I don't know, fake news is the word of the day, but I also feel like fake news goes two ways in that, like, I think that it goes towards the political end of things, but it's also like I know that I don't mean to blame it on older people, but like people who use Yelp, I feel like people like businesses can do or die by Yelp, and you can buy that shit. Like you can do any of that kind of stuff, but it all just comes back to like electronics can be corrupted. Like if you're using something, your information gathering is through the internet all the time, you're going to get corrupted information. And that's why it's fucked up. Like I was super against like when they stopped, they brought less books to Temple and shit like that. I'm sorry, I'm on like I'm gonna go on a tirade if I
the world is spinning. It's spinning, nigga. It's spinning.
That just happened to spinning. That just happened to Twitter. Just talking about like technology being corrupt. I mean,
legit. No,
all of it is happening.
What about like if you do like a cursory glance at like people buying Instagram followers and shit like that, like it's all achievable. So why would you not like look into it? And then I don't know, the funniest thing about the past like 2 weeks is number one, that everybody is like getting into these conspiracy theory things with like buying bookshelves that are actually like are code words for like missing children. And it's like, welcome to the fucking party, pal. Like there's dark shit all over the goddamn place. And number two, I posted about this on Instagram, but I will say it here again, is that you have to read up about where your shit is coming from conspiracy theories, because so many of my like liberalized kombucha friends were like, oh, this thing is that, and I was like, this is a QAnon theory post that's like this, like a radical right wing, like set of conspiracy theories that are like deeply emboldened by Trump, and you have to be very careful about it because it's a whole forest. There's nothing that is a guiding light with it. Lots of people have different things. They're deeply militarized, and now that there's like disinformation going down, the fucking CDC is not allowed to talk about fucking corona anymore. That shit fucked me up.
Yeah.
David, just so is that a new watch? Is that?
This is so
David is just
heard everything you just said.
And
I don't want to dismiss it. I just want to know if that's a new one.
I've had all these things. Y'all just haven't been paying attention.
David's secretly trying to stunt.
In case you're just tuning in.
He's just trying to stunt.
In case you're just tuning in.
Fascism, y'all. Fascism.
This is comedians talking about fascism.
I got to get out of here by 10.
How it unfolds.
Funny, guys. Let's move it along, but like get into it at the same time.
But speaking of your theories, did you hear about Britney Spears?
Yeah, that's some.
What about her?
You know what?
Britney Spears' life just sucks.
Apparently, she's just like being controlled by her father.
Yeah, we've known that for.
But also, there's medication involved, and the most recent finding is that she's doing these hidden messages via TikTok to state that she needs help. The world is what I'm saying. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all must have been paying attention to Britney Spears because I haven't, so I didn't know any of this.
No, I heard on Jesus and Mero.
I don't.
Okay.
Jesus is
but just to David's point of just like these.
No, I get you.
These that are coming out now that have been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
I think we've known that Britney Spears has been controlled by her dad.
I think the TikTok thing is the newest.
But she's been doing these Instagram videos of her dancing around and stuff.
I have seen at least one of those.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I just wish that detainees had access to their phones so that they could make TikTok videos about what's happening. Maybe. Yes, I mean, I joke, but I did catch a documentary about just that, like people who are at risk of this sort of ICE action. Immediately getting their phones out and filming interactions with ICE, and it actually does help them. David, I just wanted to run it down. So we got to the media, obsession with national security. That's been huge. I remember that hitting really hard in my life when 9/11 happened. That's the first time that I was adult enough to hear how crazy this nation could get over the idea of national security. Religion and government intertwined. Isn't that on the dollar?
I mean, that was, I know that the thing with like when it became from E pluribus unum to In God We Trust was to show up communism, to like show communism that we were like not about that kind of a thing. That one's not as much, although, did you guys see, I don't know, what's the name of the person who's been making those things where it's like them talking over Trump's speeches and like it's very funny, a comedy writer, I forget who it is. Does anyone know what I'm talking
I think I know who you're talking about. I think I've seen these videos. I don't know her name.
Very funny, but like there's one that really like gets in your head is Donald Trump, and they ask him what his favorite Bible quote is. And if you want to see someone who dodges the shit out of the question, what was that, Cecily?
I thought it was 2 Corinthians.
No, he won't get any answer. He won't even say what his favorite if Old Testament or
He can't. Yeah.
Like, it's very
and he won't engage. Yeah, and when I look closely at what they say about intertwining religion and government, I mean, it's essentially what he's doing. It's just using it as a tool. I don't think it requires belief.
Right. I agree 100%. He's just using people who,
like the photo op.
People and then you shake the Bible.
Boom. Upside down.
Exactly.
That was a moment of like full blown, like there's fascism. And this is the thing I want to say. One of the many things we weren't taught in schools, or I wasn't, or I was too high to notice. I will take some responsibility there. I got some friends who are like, they didn't teach any of this in school. I'm like, dude, we were out back smoking weed.
Let's
might
be
have
honest.
been there.
They taught it, you didn't learn it. That's what happened.
But it's fascinating that fascism is a word we know, but I feel like most people can't define at all. And we're told fascism is Nazis, but that's not. Nazis are fascists, but fascism is not necessarily Nazis. So when this shit showed up, we were looking for Nazis, and by the time Nazis showed up, it was too late.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we even saw Nazis and didn't do anything about it. Isn't that crazy? Is that there are Nazis. There are websites for Nazis. There are T-shirt companies for Nazis, and everybody was like, but we should probably hear them out, like for a little while. Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's even shit here like corporate power protected, labor power suppressed. I think about fucking like blind eyes turned towards like Amazon and shit. That fucks me up so bad.
There was an episode of The View where Whoopi said, when all this stuff was released about how Amazon wasn't actually doing all the social distancing and everything that they had promised in the fulfillment centers, and Whoopi said on The View, well, I sure hope they fix it, because if they don't, we're gonna be talking about it every day until they do. Do you know that after that episode, I never heard them bring up what was going on in the fulfillment centers ever again? Ever.
I bet a fucking producer came over and was like, don't.
Oh my God.
I bet you Amazon bought time on The View so that a few weeks later, there was a segment that was specifically sponsored by Amazon with the Amazon logo on it. All these famous people who tried to talk publicly about Amazon abruptly stopped. If Bezos has the postal service in his pocket, then that's it for Whoopi. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. What'd you say, David?
I was trying to think of the thing that's so fucked with that is like the representation of $1 trillion. Has anyone seen this? Like, if you want to see the true, like, I think that the thing that people have trouble with is when Jeff Bezos, he's still projected to become a trillionaire. He would be the world's first. And if you look up ways of visualizing $1 trillion, there's somebody who does it really well with grains of rice. You not only understand it better, but I also think a quote that was really important that I heard was like, people were like, you are so much closer to being homeless than you are to being a millionaire in the country. And you feel like these people are on your side, when it's actually just another method and tactic in the fight for like labor power suppression. It's so incredibly fucked. And then disdain for intellectuals and arts, obsession with crime and punishment. And I think that the spooky thing about a lot of these is that a lot of them are just inflamed tenets of what America already was.
Yep.
It's fucked.
There's something not on here that I want to put a pin in to bring up that I think is really interesting about fascism. I don't have to do it right now. But, okay, so there's a thing. It's not on here, but one of the things that is fascism is to go back is to look back in time and the things were so much better back there. That's a major part of fascism.
Oh yeah, I saw that in one of the lists, like a weird emphasis on tradition.
Yeah, tradition and like
an origin.
Tradition you could like make up. Like you could say like, we need to make America great again. We used to be great. And like that is so embedded in there. And also something you'll see with the very dangerous and worrisome ironic fascists, which we could take apart for a fucking decade. One of the things you'll see, what they'll do is like, remember the old Star Wars? Now, I'm not saying everyone who likes the old Star Wars is inherently fascist, but I am saying that it is something that people use to slide fascist ideas in. Those are two different statements. I just want to be clear on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anytime anyone says, well, the old thing was so much better, I kind of judge them a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't hardly trust Old City. Why?
Like, yeah, I don't even, nah.
Yeah.
Below like 7th Street, I'm not.
I ain't doing it.
Yeah, I ain't going.
Not going first Fridays.
I ain't doing it. I was just talking to me about going to a 24-hour laundromat at Front and Snyder, and I was like, I don't even.
Front Street?
Not down there.
No.
Ain't that by the statue? Is it gone yet? No.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Gorin, did you learn about some of these things through like ContraPoints or anything like that?
I do watch. I do. Yeah, I am one of the ContraPoints boys. Lightly. I trust that she thinks what she's saying is correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. Like deep dive work, I feel like is really amazing right now. Like the theorists in all of these things, like doing such incredible synopsis work, but even that I'm worried about. You know, I guess it has to go back to root shit all the time, but it's
Also,
hard.
I'm not aware of the thing y'all are talking about. ContraPoint boys? What is that?
ContraPoint is a left-wing, relatively far left-wing YouTuber that discusses gender, race, politics. She is a white trans woman and has amazing lighting and very,
I think I've seen one. But go on.
Really good one.
They're long. I think Opulence, which is the one that got her in a little bit of trouble, is kind of amazing in both theory and in execution. She's very watchable. Remember, you two are vulnerable to propaganda, but still good stuff to watch.
Actually, Gorin,
This is 2003. That's the only other thing I want to throw out there. So, typically when people present valid things that are critical of our current fascist leader, it would be nice to see characteristics of fascist leaders, because anyone who says anything that might be opposed to him is attacking him. That's how it's framed for people who listen to the incumbent. So it's important to note that this was 2003. This didn't have anything to do with the incumbent. It just looks a lot like him. Yeah.
I will just laugh at that. They're ridiculous. I mean,
I'll take it down. I just wanted to make sure. Once we started talking about that, it seemed important enough to go ahead and take a look at what we're living in. Like what I saw about fraudulent elections and some of the tactics is because that's written in 2003. They're not talking in quite the way that we do today about information campaigns. Like there's a little bit of corruption of the media, but corruption of the media is happening, I think, across a lot of those tenets. So that like, there's even information corruption impacting elections. So all the fake articles that are being reposted, like, and the Russian hacks. I think this was before government-backed hacks of other governments' elections, and so Britt couldn't put it in his article.
Yeah, I think, isn't that why? Number one, the tenet of like people like that it's been underwritten how much Russian collusion seems like it was playing into this, and no one's been like arrested. But also, there's a really, I think it was on NPR, somebody did a whole piece about like the methodology that Vladimir Putin is one of the most notorious minds in the manner of like he executed all these KGB things of like interfering with other governments' elections, like in Africa on smaller scales. And he's like very practiced in it on like long-term timelines and shit. And I think that is terrifying. Like that he's so practiced at it that I don't know, it's just like these like paradigms of like turning the country against itself and shit like that. Like any of these things are major players against it. There is besiegement of a city in a variety of different ways, and I think that one of them is spreading of misinformation amongst the people before you do something to them. And maybe it's about a weakening system. Defeating, it's what, isn't that like a Sun Tzu thing? It's like if you defeat your enemy without actually fighting, that's the ultimate victory or something like that. I don't know. What a classic Zoom show on Facebook where a white guy misquotes Sun Tzu. Oh my gosh.
And all the black people are like,
That's like that's what the every improv practice. Every college party breaks down into
that's fine.
Sophomore
I think
album
this Sun You bit Jeezy or something.
Sun Tzu, is that
Jeezy?
Is that sunscreen?
What SPF is not? I don't use those. Is that like the orange juice? Is that Sunny D?
What flavor?
Yeah. Damn.
No, I think that's right.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I gotta say that T-minus 10 o'clock for us to hard out, because if not, I will get so sweaty in my kitchen just yelling about fascism into my computer. T-minus 10 o'clock. I want everyone to know. All right. Yeah. Holy shit. Damn.
Sharing this article that Gorin found. This is from 2018. So this is how long we've known. We know.
There's your shelf bra.
Okay, we don't know. I'm trying, y'all. My back and shoulders hurt. Look, I have an inflatable neck brace right here. I'm like, if shit gets rough, I'm ready.
The reason why you can't be just sharing your screen. Jeez, I don't know what advertisements are going to be popping out. That's crazy.
I'm so glad all I looked up was bra stuff and looms, y'all, because I'd be looking up on the
You warned us about it, right? You already told us.
That's how Feinberg spotted it. Because I'm like, how do I get out of this prison?
Shares again. The second she shares again, I've got to.
You're looking for it. You're gonna see some adhesive bra ads. That's what you're gonna. Yeah. So Netta's. I'm just scrolling through these organizations for.
I thought it was a more condensed list. I apologize.
I think because it's online, they're wedging ads in there.
Yeah.
But I actually appreciate the images because I don't think we're getting these images lately. And it's still happening.
Well, that's also a repressing of the press is not having access to these images, you know? Like the fact that there's very specified times. I remember that was the thing I heard once about Guantanamo Bay is like the way that you are not allowed to take pictures, you are not allowed to take recordings, you like all of these different things, and it's due to a suppression. It's an act of suppression against something that is guaranteed to you as an American, that you have right to freedom of the press in order to enact press freedoms. And then you also have the right to enjoy the press freely. At the same time, please don't don't read QAnon shit, please. Although some of it is kind of in the light, but I think that you have to be, I don't know, that's like drinking bath water to stay hydrated or something. Like it's not worth the price that you're paying for it, you know? Anyway.
I am always disappointed by as we scroll through this very real thing that is happening. I always am disappointed by the conspiracy theory community because like the fucked up shit's right in front of you, folks. Like it's not as
right?
Yeah.
It's not. There it is.
For how Stonehenge lines up anymore.
And it is this weird thing. I know with the happenings of the world, it feels weird bringing this up, but how quickly, like there are very few, and I don't know if this has always been true or if I am remembering a time in the past, there are very few conspiracy theories that don't, if it's not Bigfoot or ghosts or aliens, that don't end in racism or anti-Semitism. Like that's where they always.
Oh yeah.
It like and I ask you to go to a flat Earth page and ask them, well, why do people think the Earth is flat? And give them a little bit of time, and they'll eventually say the Jews. Like it might take them a minute to get there, but they're gonna say it. Just so you know.
Shadow government, I think, is a key term. Big government, or like bank, bank conglomerate or bank like grouping of some kind. Yeah, lizard people. It's always some Jews at the end.
Sometimes when people say that the world is run by lizard people, what they're saying is they think the world is lizard people. Other times what they're saying is Jewish people are secretly not people and they are lizard people. So there's coded language in there. Just a heads up. Just you go to the dark places and you go, oh no, this is all, oh, you're all racist. I thought, okay, I just thought you thought the earth was flat.
Right.
So give money.
Interviewing method. I feel like I've gone up to flat earthers and it's interesting. Under the Dome is such a good, I feel like more people should watch that because not only it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. It was super thought provoking, but it was also really interesting. They break it down by like what flat earthers are, who the leaders of it are. They then break down why it's wrong, but then they also break down like the disassociation that the scientific community has pressed up against the flat earther community, and how like scientists should be embracing like a whole community that is technically just amateur scientists, but they haven't reached out to. They've just totally marginalized in a lot of ways. 10 o'clock out. I swear to God.
It's so tricky. By the way, that watch is hot, Feinberg. It is.
I got an excuse. I was pretty well with my ear.
Oh, elastics. Cecily also has on a watch. Cecily, what were you going to say before Feinberg's watch stole the show?
Oh, you said Under the Dome?
I think it's Beneath the Dome or Under the Dome.
Because Under the Dome is not.
What is it?
It's behind the curve, I think.
Behind the curve? Behind the curve? Behind the curve. I apologize.
Because that makes more sense, because that's the curve of the earth, and they're behind the curve as well.
Yeah, this movie is smart.
Yeah. It's tough. I wish scientists did do a better job. I know that doctors are not super helpful with anti-vaxxers. And in many instances, like the compelling anti-vaxxer stories have to do with them feeling not heard by their doctors, which is something to which I can relate. I can't relate to starting a movement on YouTube that might involve endangering everybody else's children. I don't. Yeah. I get where you say that was so awful with the doctor that I'm just going to keep my kids at home. I believe so much in this. I even get not even seeing it as harmful to your children. I whatever, keep them at home. But if the rule is keep them away from our kids, that's the thing I just have such a hard time with. And maybe that's me still marginalizing anti-vaxxers, but I think that's where we could use like doctors' help and the experts' help with the information.
There's like a delegitimization, if that's even a word, and if it's not, I just made it up, of experts now. And it's just like, at one point they're used to, and maybe this is kind of make America great again, but like, remember when people had to be experts to have a fucking opinion about something that required complexity and expertise? And now it's just, which I think it's great that we have the internet where people can express their opinions and stuff, and it allows for a lot of expression that wasn't there. Like there's good parts of it, like what we're doing right now. But
we're the good ones.
Cecily's like, that was too much time on Brittany. And last week I told y'all I was over Will and Jada. And y'all kept on. No.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like especially like this administration, it's just like, yo, we have doctors who know the most about this stuff, telling us what is probably the best thing to do, or at least the best thing humans can figure out, people who dedicate their lives to this particular expertise. And we're just like, nah, but my uncle posted a meme and I'm gonna go with him. It's just like,
yeah.
Well, that's what
I don't know.
I mean. I think that if we didn't have the interwebs and all the freedom that we do have, which I'm definitely saying we should not have all the freedom that we have. We wouldn't be here. This wouldn't be our problem. We wouldn't have a pandemic the way we have it right now. We did this in 1919. Yeah, I'm running for dictator. Give it to me. Give it to me. Let me have it.
That is amazing.
Pandemic theory, the internet caused the pandemic. Am I hearing that correctly? I just want to make sure I sum it up.
It's not the 5G. It's the internet.
The whole
interweb.
It's the whole interweb.
The web itself. It's that. No, I just think if we weren't allowed to talk the way we could talk to everybody in the world right now, if you just could take the newspaper and read that, and that's all you had, we would have been out of here 5 months ago. I don't even know how long we've been in here. How long has it been?
I think it started in 2016.
Right.
We've had a pandemic for 4 years.
Yeah, right. That's not
for a long time for you, true. Yeah.
March
13th was when we went inside.
Yeah, March 15th. 22nd was the first virtual show. Yeah.
Yeah. So did we not do it? You didn't do anything on the 15th, right? We just
the 15th I reluctantly closed. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And really held out. And I respect decisions everybody else makes, but it was St. Patrick's weekend. And so you have some of your hardest core partiers out. And then our security staff was like, no, too high risk. And so it was just us and maybe a bartender who was less familiar with the way that we work, and a virus. And fuck no. I was just like, no, because we can regulate with backup. With backup, I can be like, no, you can't come in here, man, because you look like you ain't got no boundaries. No. Like, I was willing to be that bitch that night, but without the backup, I couldn't do it. So. What
was y'all? This is kind of random. What was y'all's last shows? What's the last thing you remember of
that John we were on when my birthday rang in at midnight that Wednesday? When you had the photo shoot, right? Did you have?
Yeah, so that was that was March 11th, and then I went to one open mic on the 12th after that at the one in West Philly, Gojo.
Okay. I never made it to Gojo.
It's a new one, but it's a really supportive room. It's like a bunch of comics, but they're crazy supportive. It's like there'd be like 8 or 9 comics in there, but they're all like crazy supportive, and it was an awesome room. I was going for like the past 3 weeks before everything happened, and that was my last one.
I don't remember any mics because I removed them all from my calendar because I was getting calendar alerts, and I was like, enough of that. So I don't remember what's ours called again? I don't remember what anything is called.
How will we ever, I don't know. What do you think about, like, in the event that the pandemic stops? I know that nothing will ever be the same, that the world is permanently changed, right? But like, if we ever went back to the live room, I don't know how we would continue. Like, would we get everyone on stage in between every single comment? Like total heckle out. Like, you can say,
how do we
just yell from different spots in the audience? Just talk, interrupt as if we were on a Zoom show.
We're gonna be rude. We're gonna be rude, at least in
At least it's the adjustment period. Yeah, we're gonna be real rude.
But we're gonna do it to the wrong people.
I know.
Right.
It's gonna end up happening to someone who was never aware of this Zoom show, never never felt it at all, and then they're gonna be like, "So what's up?"
There will be a fight for sure. There'll be a fight. But there's like what? There's like 8, 10 of us, and Brian will be good. I ain't worried about that.
Yeah, we got Brian.
Dang. We a gang now.
I meant like in other spaces.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Comedy John and just I'll be like,
just stop by.
Chris, why are you talking right now? Why?
Oh, this isn't how y'all do it. I thought this was how y'all
do it online. Never mind.
I'll remember real quick. Like I get bold online, but I'll remember when I'm in person. Like, I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
What?
I haven't interacted with people in like fucking 4 months. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what that's like to be in a space like that. Like what does that even mean?
I was having trouble. I was at the dinner table with my parents today, and I was just like having trouble, just even opening up my chest to like to face them. I'm just like scared. I'm not used to being around people. It's gonna be.
Yeah. I've been working through a lot of agoraphobia in general, like going back out and running outside of my little area, and like going back to the park and keeping distance. But it took me like a month to be comfortable just to be out wearing a mask, not wearing a mask. Well, wearing a mask for everything, but like I just felt like fearful at everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was weird. I'm more better now, but it's still. I'm good at the grocery store till I see the first nose or mask down, and then my brain starts yelling, and it freaks out.
Yeah,
like, it freaks out heavy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to be like, put your mask on now.
Yeah. That's not me.
Yeah.
I've
never even been close to that person. I don't talk to people unless I know you. So
I roll my eyes. I'll look just like
I tweet about it.
I was just in the grocery store today for the first time in a while. Everybody had their mask on though. I mean, at least in my neighborhood, I'm in Graduate Hospital. Everybody's been doing their thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Especially indoor. I mean, indoors, like that'd be wild if someone didn't have their mask on. I couldn't imagine, but it seemed everybody was good with it.
Can we just return back to me being dictator?
Yo, I was thinking the flag would be your face. That face you made, that would be the flag.
I just feel like if you're gonna have a dictator, like I would be the best one. Like,
tell us why.
Please tell us why. Cecily for Dictatorship 2020.
What's day one look like in Cecilytopia?
Jared's in jail. Dennis Rodman is the.
I get to have sex with.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. He's just forced to police show up at his house and bring him to the White House or whatever.
Yeah, you're essentially Kim Jong.
You've been summoned by
just like Kim Jong. You just have Dennis Rodman over for your basketball favors.
Rodman as the first gentleman.
Oh no. No.
Like for 2020, that's like not even that crazy if that happened. I would be like, yeah, it should happen.
Oh, I have a question. Is Dennis Rodman your first gentleman or your side gentleman? Like
side. He would be.
Oh, he's side. Okay.
He's like
so that's
a distinction.
Like I would no. Like
I'm trying to see my butterfly. Okay, got it.
Relationship? No. Can't do that. Like no.
It's the sexual thing. It's got a sexual bravado going on right now, right? Yeah. Okay. Have you guys sorry, Cecily. Please.
No.
Honorable leader Cecily, I submit the floor.
I don't know. I don't really know how it would be a dictator, but it would be really nice. And I mean, occasionally people would have to get, punched in the face. But that's it. Punch in the face.
Yeah.
You need to be punched in the face.
Some people need it.
The problem is once punch them in the face is a policy, then you need procedures, and that's where shit gets fucked up. So how does one get punched in the face? Do they stand freely? Then you're gonna have punch runners. So they bring them to the White House for the purpose. Is it a public punching, or is that is that like a first degree?
Oh my gosh! Listen.
Is it instantaneous? It's because she's dictator, though. That doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
Democratic train of thought.
I'll stand by punching. I will not stand by public punching. I think people should punch, but it should be a private affair.
Draw the line.
Leader Cecily, I smell insurrection in the ranks. I smell insurrection. Punch him publicly.
Yeah.
Bring him to the punch gala.
Yeah. We see the first person getting punched. We now know.
Oh, man.
He already trying to curtail your powers, Cecily.
Try to set some boundaries. Public punching. I'm like,
there's no boundaries in dictatorship.
He's trying to draw lines in fascism.
I do think if we have a woman as president, she should be allowed to be dictator, because I think the power imbalance between the genders has just been too insane. So I think that's the only way to make it fair. I think if a woman gets to be president, she's dictator.
You might have felt differently though if McCain had gotten elected and then gotten sick.
Oh, good God!
Okay, a black woman.
No, yeah,
a black woman.
A black woman. A black woman. I know.
Who's funny?
Basically,
what if it's that basically your
me?
Yes.
Basically the black women on this screen.
Black women on this Zoom chat. They win. They should be dictators, because I know that.
Manny, even if it was your wife, you would be like, I don't know if I like this.
Nah. Yeah, I don't know.
You got too much power. I don't like this. I like it better when you're oppressed in the workplace. Like that much better.
I don't know what she'd do to me if she was dictator. So I don't know.
Because I can definitely be like, black women all in 100%. We can do no wrong. And then I hear about Meek Mill's judge. Because it's hard. Yeah. I know, like, every population has its assholes. Every single one. But she really was everything I didn't want to become in law. Just like having lost track of what she was there to do, that it was all about photo op and opportunity for her. Like, it was all opportunity for her. And when she couldn't get that, she's like, what I'm trying not to be with my cat. I'm trying really hard. Not to be like, you don't pay attention to me, therefore I lock you up. I'm trying. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I like black women get to be dictators. I want it. I want to, but I just know the one we'll get. Or at least she'll just have us embarrassed, For me, that's even worse. Don't embarrass me. You can appall me, sis. Don't embarrass me.
Yeah. Maybe it should be a group of black women so they can check each other. Is that just run by like 5 black women?
I like that. Yeah, a team of black women. Because I think we're going to be slower to kill each other than other people are. Well, you see how quick we were to punch Gorin? I don't think we're going to be that quick to punch each other.
Listen, here's the thing.
She's clapping.
A fist is better than killing people. You're not generally, it's possible to kill someone with your fist, but most of the time.
But I love that.
Most of the time, it's just gonna hurt. And that's all you need most of the time.
That's enough for me to not want to do something. I'm just saying.
Right. Like, who are the people we're punching in your dictatorship world? We're punching the right people.
Hey, just do what you're supposed to do and you won't get punched in the face. Like, that's it.
And it is a facial punch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that reduces the risk of aiming. You could jack up a jaw, an ear over here. But if it's a straight-on facial punch, that's probably...
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, or I don't know.
It depends on what they did.
Like this, like woof, like boom, like shut your mouth.
Terrible.
Right up in there.
Who here has been punched in the face in a way that they felt was appropriate as a punishment in a public setting?
That means you have to admit to what you did, which would have to be pretty bad.
I once got a punch in the face in like a bar, and I really deserved it. And the whole time, like I was like, yeah, I pretty much get why you
there.
Like as it connects with your jaw, you're like, of course.
I know.
20 years of nothing followed by this.
See?
What'd you do? To the face 10 times. I did a study abroad program in the UK, and we just I had one friend where each week we had like a different kind of drink that we would drink all week. Like I was like a fucking animal. It was like truly the most indulgent I've ever been. We went to a bar one night, and it was what I call gin week, and I was like absolutely hammered, and we were all dancing in a circle, and I was like doing that thing that dicks do, where you like when people are walking through your circle on a packed dance floor, you like move them through. And I touched this guy on his back, and he turned around and put on a British accent if you want to, but I'll do it in the good old US of A accent. He turned around and he went, "If you fucking touch me again, I'm going to kick your ass." And I poked him right in the chest.
Oh, you did! I thought it was a back touch, and I was like, I don't know if I agree. You got Cecily clapping because you tested him. Nobody like a test.
Right in the face got me, but I had two huge roommates, and they kicked his ass. Like it was insane. If you but
see, you're the problem. It's guys like you who start fights and shit.
You know what? And then other people have
friends
to step
like
up
me
for you.
have to fucking step in and like take the hits.
See, and David is the sort of person, you are the fascist to watch. At least me and Cecily know we're dictators. We know it going in, but you're the one who ends up doing like 300 public punchings a day in front of the White House.
I'm like, the gavel falls until morality is proved.
Wow. Yeah.
That's such I have that visual of you
poking.
How big was the guy?
I don't remember. I was blind drunk.
Okay, yeah, that matters that you were drunk. Yeah. Because that's a I mean, there's no way I would do that sober. Or I don't believe, yeah, that's wild.
But like I remember growing up, my dad once looked at me and he was like I said something at the dinner table and he went, "David Feinberg, one day that mouth of yours is gonna get you punched in the face."
Did you call him that day? Did you call him that night?
Oh yeah, later like the next
Dad,
day.
I got
You're like, "Hi, Dad. I just want you to know you were wrong.
He knew what
and my mouth would get me punched in the face, and it wasn't my mouth, Dad.
my finger." And if your dad flight to the UK,
my words would never hurt me.
Like, I'll be there in 7 hours to punch you in the face.
Yeah. It was like that in disguise, like in the Mission Impossible disguise, where it etches in your face. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah. But I like how everybody else was like, "No, I've never deserved that punch in the face." No, and David's like, "I absolutely did."
I
got punched in the face while arguing about poetry once. Which, if you look at me, that makes sense. I don't know if I deserved it, but I think we all did. Like we all.
Yeah, a fist should have shot me and hit everyone in this circle. Like,
just an outside party just punches you all in the face. It's like, stop doing this.
I got married, and I don't think I've ever told her that because she'll never stop making fun of me. I got yacked hard because I was arguing about if you could read. I want to say this perfectly clear. I got punched hard in the face by a person I still know, because I argued that it is possible to read E.E. Cummings aloud, and he thought it only worked on the page.
He thought it only what?
Works on the page. Like you have
only,
to.
like the correct method and the only method to read E.E. Cummings is to have it on the page. And I said there was a way to translate it, to say it out loud. And he went, "Fuck you," and punched me in the face.
Oh, something wrong with
real quick. I know that we have to end the live stream at 10 so that I have enough time to drive to Gorin's house and punch him in the face. A nightmare story. Manny, did you have something that you got punched in the face for?
No, I was punched in the face as like a child. I grew up around like I grew up around all sisters, so like that was not a thing, and I was like shocked. I couldn't. I was like the audacity. I was like 7, and I was like the audacity. I was like, I'm not fucking with this guy ever again. Like I just couldn't even. He thought I was. It was something that if it happened to a regular boy who grew up around like other boys, that we would just fall, it would have been fine. But I was just like, oh no, we can't do this ever again. Like this is not.
That's a great reaction.
That's not how human beings conduct themselves. I was
I'm
very
not fucking with you anymore.
As a matter of fact, I was
like,
wow. Hey, that hurt, man. Why'd you?
Like, what the hell, man? Like, yeah, no, I was done. But no, I've never been punched in the face. I got in one fight-ish, I guess, when I was like in elementary school because a white dude called me a nigger. But that was
always fucking happens, man.
Did you win?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I didn't even know what I was. The funny thing.
You didn't know how you were being a nigger.
I didn't really know.
That's the internalized.
Yeah, then I had to like, oh, am I being? Yeah, no, but like,
maybe
I was. You know, I don't know.
Try to see from both sides.
I whipped his ass. Yeah. It was instinctual though. It's like I wasn't super familiar with that word though. Yeah. Like at the time. I vaguely knew like that just meant a bad thing about black people, but it wasn't in my lexicon at the time. Like it was instinctual. So I just whooped his ass.
That's crazy. That's weird.
Yeah.
So funny, when I was a little kid, I did Fresh Air Fund. Y'all know about that? Like they take like inner city kids and you go and stay with a friendly family for 2 weeks in some other place. So I went to like New Hampshire. We'll just stick with Massachusetts. I went to Massachusetts and New Hampshire as a kid. And you'd hang out you lived with this family for a couple of weeks and you hung with who they hung with. And these kids didn't know the word nigger because the North doesn't identify with those words. Even in the 80s, they were like, we're not doing those words. But there was a way that he told me that if I sat on a white chair, I would get chocolate all over it. That felt like that hatred. There was a way. I see contempt on him that you see in like Klansman faces when he was telling me not to get the chocolate on the way. I was like maybe 8 years old. I got him later because the dumbass sat on a brown chair. And I was like, no, you got to get up off of there. You're going to get vanilla all over it. Don't. But you don't have to know the word to know the contempt. You like,
you felt it.
Yeah.
I like that, Manny, that you were like, you got punched in the face at 7 and you thought that was going to rock your world the hardest. And then 2 short years later, you would have to explain
like, no.
A large class.
Had a rough life, man. I had a rough life.
We can't
on those suburban streets, man.
That shit fucking
it was
hurt.
wild. No, being punched in the face is no joke. I do not want that. That's the only reason I don't box. I'll look hard and punch a punching bag until my hands are fucking bleeding, but I do not want someone punching me back.
Oh no, that part of I will do the boxing.
Yeah, right? That part's fun. Cool.
But the actual
no, I'm good with it.
I think I tried to tell a joke like a week or 2 ago about how I was doing kickboxing and literally I have the pads on, so it's not actually hurting me, but having someone physically kick into my body, I was getting angry. Like I was really like, seriously, why? Like I knew
I don't fuck with that, man. I don't fuck with that.
But I was so
just take off your gloves and punch him as hard as you can.
In my chest, bitch. You gonna kick me in my chest? I would be all talk, no kick. I would be so appalled the whole time.
Have you guys seen that video of like Mike Tyson is training again, and you see the guy who's holding up the big foam pad, and I'm like, I still would hate
one
to
slip.
be that guy.
I couldn't do that, yo.
One slip, he's dead.
I know.
Right? Don't make a mistake. Oh,
yeah. That is wild.
Who takes that job? Who takes?
Oh man.
Who doesn't take that job though?
I would be like, how about I just get your water? I'll be your water mouth squirter.
I'll be your hype man. I can talk. That's the thing. I can talk so much shit, right? Like that's why I like being a comedian. Like, you know how powerful you are when you're on stage. You have the mic. Like you're so fucking powerful. But like in real life, I'm not like that. Like, I'm like, oh shit. But that's
I'm literally amplified by a mic. Yeah.
I want to find out that the truth of the matter is that in boxing, the person who shoots the water into your mouth is known as the team squirter. That would be actually hear that. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm with Tyson and I'm the squirter around here. I thought that people would notice once I walked in the room, but no big deal, I guess.
No biggie.
I want my shiny jacket to say squirt with a little drop of water on the back.
Tyson's a beast, man. I don't know.
Remember when he fucked up the game? He fucked up, like comedians, we do time. Boxers, they just do fuck them up, get out of there. Remember the 26-second fight? I feel like that's a real thing, or maybe it was a minute and 26. Tyson had some short fights where like we would gather around and sit down, and some people would pay a lot of money to see it. And then as soon as they got seated, they would have to get their asses up and walk because the fight was over. He was such a monster.
Yeah.
It's crazy seeing somebody get punched. I've seen a friend get punched in the face.
Yeah.
You're just like, that, it doesn't look good at all. It looks painful. It's horrible.
I want to dig a little deeper on that. Had this friend ever pissed you off in the past?
I didn't punch him.
I know, but had the friend ever pissed you off in the past?
Oh, sure. I mean, they were white, so that kind of comes with it a little bit.
So was there a little bit of satisfaction? Was that part of the discomfort?
Oh, well,
that like you're like, oh, a punch is terrible, but there's a piece of me that's happy it happened to you.
That's part of the reason why they got punched. There was some other black people that I didn't know that they mingled with while I wasn't there, and then there was a problem.
And that's the moral to the story, white friends. We be trying to protect y'all. You know what I mean? And the friendship, you're like, oh, I don't have to listen to Kat.
The white person just be poking people in the chest. And crazy shit.
Yeah, we trying.
And I don't know why, but I feel like it is.
You out at the club with David in London? Where were
Yeah, I'm not going to.
He was poking me in the chest, and I let him get away with it.
He's like, I told you, I'm gonna hold my smile, but I'm gonna smile all through my sleep.
I said, David, you do that one more time. One more time.
Other black folks.
I learned the lesson. I was like, I remember in that moment, like the next morning, I was like, I definitely could have been beaten mercilessly last night.
But aren't you better for it? Aren't you better for it?
Yeah.
That's a good punishment.
You don't go around testing people.
The Cecily program. I've been a reformed poker of people for years. I haven't poked people in years thanks to Cecily's new reforms. I'm a happy citizen.
Vote for me.
And I'm an active citizen.
Vote for me.
And look at how efficient that is. If that dude had tried to have a conversation with you that night, you would still be poking people to this day. You would be sitting on your Zoom like that. Like,
oh. Yeah.
David, you have one more time to poke my screen. One more time.
Oh man.
All right, y'all. You've been poked. Audience. Is that bad? Oh my God, Whoopi had a joke on The View. Yes, nigga, I watched The View. I'm sorry, I do. But Whoopi had a joke where she was like, because they were talking about the polls and how Biden's winning in the polls. And Whoopi's like, I don't really know about all these polls. I have not been polled. Well, I have been polled, but not in the way that we're talking about. And then somebody jumped on her punchline, and I was like, y'all fucking missed it. Whoopi's doing comedy up in the show. about getting polled on The View. I was like, that's a shout to Whoopi. It was so, well, I have been, but not like that. It was so good.
Nice.
It was so good.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Great.
So, all right, you've been polled. This is the host test for Sucks to Be Quarantined. Many thanks to Chris Esperance, Manny Brown, David Feinberg, Cecily Alexandria, and Brandon T. Gorin for joining us tonight. Catch us tomorrow night for Sucks to Be Quarantined 18. Can you believe it? It's our 18th show. So yeah, this is an institution.
Or
Setoiyo,
wear a mask and never make it to 19, you know?
Y'all could just keep your masks on. I mean, if we get to Sucks to Be Quarantined 50, y'all have fucked up the whole game. The whole pandemic game, y'all have fucked it up.
If everyone wears a mask, we only have to get to 22. That's 4 weeks. You wear a mask 4 weeks. That's still true. That's still true right now.
I miss my friends.
If everyone wears a mask for 4 weeks, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow.
Everyone wears tune in tomorrow for the end of that sentence. If everybody wears a mask for 4 weeks, tune in tomorrow, y'all. Thanks so much for listening tonight.